Depression versus feeling depressed. Is there a difference? What do they each mean? Some interesting facts about depression, and also a tip from a personal experience dealing with depression. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Regina, welcome to this video, welcome to my channel, the channel where we talk about different aspects of spirituality, personal and spiritual development and growth. Today we are talking about depression and feeling depressed. Now, when it comes to depression, over 300 million people, according to World Health Organization, deal with depression. Over 300 million people. That's a lot of people. Mental health, unlike what we may have thought in general, mental health and depression specifically is a leading cause for disability. It's not any kind of physical illness, something that I was even surprised reading and learning. Depression is a leading cause for disability. Surprising, I would say shocking amount of people, estimated 75% of people who have depression actually don't receive any official by doctor given treatment for their depression. The worst case scenario, what happens when someone has a depression is a person with depression committing suicide. 2/3 of people who committed suicide, again according to World Health Organization, were having the official depression diagnosis. But considering the fact that about 75% of people who have depression don't actually receive any official depression treatment for depression, then based on all the other facts, I would say the remaining 1/3 of people who do commit suicide are most likely having a depression as well. The thing is, we can never know for sure who is dealing with depression and who isn't. Especially if someone is seemingly happy and doing well on the outside, I think we often don't think of talking to someone who seems to have it all together and seems to be happy and doing well. I think we humans in general are more concerned about people who do show signs of feeling down, people who do share how they are feeling down, people who are not necessarily doing what we would see as well. In general, we humans are more worried about people like that versus people who seem happy and have it all together on the outside. To make it very short and straight to the point, first, there is a difference between feeling depressed and having depression. The biggest main difference is that feeling depressed is something that's temporary, whereas depression is more long term. And someone who has a depression has their brain function differently. They have chemical imbalances in brain. From my own personal experience, what I can say is the feeling that I get is when having depression, it's as if there are some wires in the brain that are not connected fully. And for that brain to function fully, for me as a person, as a human to function fully, those wires have to be connected. It's like when we use electric device that needs to be plugged in. If it's not plugged in, or if the plug and if the wiring is not well done, if it's not connecting properly, then it maybe kind of works and kind of not, or it doesn't work at all. And that is how it feels for me personally in having a depression. And it feels as if, like, logically I would understand, yes, this makes me happy, or at least I know it used to make me happy, or I know I should be doing this and this and this, or I should be feeling good, I should be feeling something, anything. But having depression often comes with feeling numb. Logically understanding that this is something that I should feel good about, or this is a good thing, or this is not a good thing, but feeling nothing. And it's not something that can be faked. It's like that feeling is either there or it isn't. And this is what I'm saying, that it feels like having a depression, it feels like there's like something off in that wiring. It's like knowing logically that this is something that's positive, but not being able to make myself, in this case, in this example, to feel it. Just because I know it doesn't mean I'm automatically feeling it. And that's where that wiring is kind of off. Those wires are there, the feeling and knowingness, but they're not connected. So there is that disconnect. And that's a sign of a depression. It's knowing that, oh, I should do this or I should do that, but not having that motivation, like that inner motivation, and not even knowing that, yeah, I should get motivated, or I should have the motivation because the end result would be this and this and this, but not being able to do it, like for those two, like in order for us to be able to do something what we logically know, what we feel, it has to be in alignment, and it has to like match and be connected in order for us to go and do it. But if for someone with a depression there's that disconnect where it's just not happening, it's like there but it's not there because it's not connected, would be the best way I could describe it. And so the official fact idea that someone who has a depression has chemical imbalances, that something is off in the brain, would be a pretty accurate description, I would say, just based on my own personal experience. Now, when it comes to someone feeling depressed, it's different, and it's temporary. It's like something that can like comes and goes. It can be connected, or usually is connected with some situation that maybe made us feel or triggered us to feel down, but we can but we still we have feelings, we are able to feel, we are able to pull ourselves out of it, like there is that connection in brain happening. Maybe it's the longer somebody is feeling depressed, and if there are things happening that are just making one feel even more down, it can lead to having a depression. It can lead to that connection just getting kind of looser, and then just disconnecting. Could happen. But the general idea of feeling depressed is that that connection is still there. It's just life. There are positive things, negative things happening, and sometimes we feel down and feel depressed, like experience the feelings of depression, which would be like hopelessness and no motivation, and everything just seems doomy gloomy. But then the next day comes, or later in the day, something happens that triggers some positive emotions, and then we don't feel that down anymore. Those depression feelings have gotten lighter, or have gone, like completely gone. Whereas someone with depression, it wouldn't happen like that. Those feelings would be still there, regardless whether something good happens or not. So that's the general idea, difference. Having depression eventually can lead to having some physical illness. It's like with anything in life. If there is something that's off and we don't do anything about it, or we don't even know what to do about it to make it better, the more of that is happening, the more of that something, whatever it is, bad is happening, it starts to affect us in some negative way. And having depression and not treated depression, the longer it happens, the more chance it has to create some kind of physical, something physically that's an illness. And then in turn, it can turn into a vicious cycle where being depressed can lead to feeling to having some kind of illness, but then having an illness can trigger even more depression, and it just kind of snowballs from there and turns into this vicious cycle. It's possible. Having depression impacts nervous system. It impacts our ability to live a life and be productive and progress in life. Now, with all this said, as someone who has had experience with depression, also experience with suicidal thoughts since I was a kid, I have come up, this is not the only thing that I have done or tried. Also, disclaimer, I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not giving any medical advice, but I'm going to share something that I came up with and have experimented with, and something that has helped me. Like I said, not as the only thing, but hugely has helped me, and it's helping. I'm a big believer in always, when something happens, doesn't matter what it is, that it's important to dig to the root cause, dig to the bottom of whatever the situation is, to figure out what the root cause is for whatever the problem, challenge is happening. Because in order to treat it properly, it's important to know what's causing it. Otherwise, if we just treat the symptoms, that's what it is. We treat symptoms, it may help for some time, but without addressing the root cause, we may end up treating symptoms for the rest of our lives. And After some time, one method we use may not even help anymore, and we'll need to try and figure out something else and use some other method, tool to treat the symptoms, and it can just continue for the rest of our lives. But if we find the root cause and we address the root cause, then it has all the potential to be healed. If having depression causes or is caused by chemical imbalances in the brain, the spiritual aspect of this would be how about working on bringing chemical balance back. Work on focusing, activating the brain, activating every part of the brain, to bring the brain function back into balance, without even knowing what exactly is out of balance. I mean, for each person it's going to be different. Also, the actual damage or imbalance for some people can be like a little bit, for some people it can be a huge difference in where is what, but from that spiritual perspective, we don't necessarily need to know what exactly is out of balance and how much. Important is to know that imbalance causes, or is the result of depression, or it's causing the depression. And focusing our mind, and our mind is so powerful and so resilient and so great. If we can focus our mind to bringing brain back to balance and bring that chemical imbalance into balance by activating every cell in our brain, every part of our brain, then it could have a potential. It does have a potential. I think it even makes logical sense that it would help. So I can say for myself, in my own experience, it does help. It, at the beginning, especially when I came up with this idea and started to implement it, I noticed a huge difference, and I have been using this method now ever since. You can come up with your own way how you do that, but just to give you an idea, I have created this guided meditation visualization in a separate video. I'm gonna link it in the description below. Check it out if you wanna check it out. It's about 5-6 minutes, so it's not that long, and see what happens. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to depression and feeling depressed. I hope this video gave you kind of general idea, and also gave you something you can try out and experiment. And with that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. Click like if you enjoyed this video, if you found it.